Welcome y'all to What Joe Thinks episode number 2. Today we are talking about relationships, or rather, what do we do to look forward to our relationships or to look forward to the next step in our relationships. Before we get there though, this platform is meant to be a conversation. It's meant for us to interact. If you have thoughts, if you have feedback, comments, and or topics you'd like for me to talk about, please send them on towards me. As an example, in yesterday's episode, we talked about how do we deal with being socially distant or socially isolated. How do we deal with being socially distant or socially isolated? And a person sent me a comment afterwards. She said, you know what, Joe? I think you missed something. Not only should we reflect, discover, and grow in our ways of connecting people, the most important part is for us to learn. And I couldn't agree more. In fact, it brought to my attention that it's not so much about all these different things we're doing, it's just simply learning on the go, learning what is different, how do we live differently, and how do we move forward in this new type of connecting with people. So thank you so very much. Like I said, if you have any thoughts, please send them my way, and I will talk about it here. Now, on to our main topic for the day, relationships, or rather, what do I do with my current state of being? And how do I look forward to something that I don't know when it's to come or how it's to come? How do I be currently in my state of being? And how do I thrive without any indication of what is next and when it's coming? And really, I think the biggest challenge that we have is being static in our present situation can be extremely frustrating, sometimes even depressing, because we're not sure what we can look forward to. We're not sure what we can expect or hope for, and that in itself can be a really frustrating thought, really frustrating state of being. There's no movement for us to have. And here is the thing, I completely understand. I am that person who needs to know when the next person is coming. I'm a planner. I like to know, all right, this is coming in 2 days, this is coming in 4 days, this is coming in a year. I want to know what is coming ahead. And for me not to know is really, really frustrating. Good news is I fully believe in having a goal and working backwards. I firmly believe in having a goal and working backwards, and you can too. Here's what I think. If having a fulfilling marriage is something that you want, then we have to start with that as our goal and work backwards. Because all marriages have the potential to be fulfilling marriages. Notice I use the word fulfilling, not necessarily always happy or not necessarily without any fights, because a marriage is a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment and it's a lot of work. I've been in enough weddings and stood up on the pulpit with our pastor enough times when pastor talks about how this is a lot of work and it's a commitment, for me to have that ingrained in my head that a marriage is a lot of work. And the thing is, it can still be extra fulfilling should the two people in that marriage be ready for the commitment that is to come. You know what, in the Bible and in the book of Matthew, Jesus talks about this. He says, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one. And that can be a very fulfilling process. And for me, I'm still learning what that is like as I look into my marriage and look further into my marriage, knowing what do I do from this point on to make it even more fulfilling than it already is. But that is the goal. As we work backwards, we find, well, to have a fulfilling marriage, we need to first be engaged to the right person. What? Crazy thought, right? We need to be engaged to the right person. We need to find the right person, someone who you're ready to make that commitment with, someone who you're ready to go into all of that work with. And it's not an easy thing, right? Just because you and this person get along and we talk about a lot of cool things, we go out for lunch and dinner and all those things, does not mean that this person is somebody who is ready to commit to that much work with you. I will tell you, when I was engaged and still going through this whole process of figuring all this out, my wife, Annie, and I, we were split up in 2 different places. I was in LA for a good proportion of the week. She was in San Diego. And oh my gosh, like I had driven back and forth every weekend, found different people to stay with every weekend simply so that I can go back and see her. And she would make her way up to stay with her sister just so she can be here with me in person. And that amount of work takes commitment. But before we get there, we need someone who we can get along with. We need someone who we can be with to know, hey, is it bearable for me to be with this person as I take that next step, right? We need to have somebody who we know will love us as we love them also. And oftentimes this first step, being in a relationship, is extremely hard to find because people nowadays, and before I suppose, are very fearful of stepping into something that is potentially not going to work out. However, I encourage you, if you want to get here, fulfilling marriage, happily engaged, you must first get here. But before you even get here, though, there's one step beyond the views of this camera, and that is where a lot of people are struggling with, and it is being single, looking for something, looking for someone, however, not being able to find the right person to even start a relationship with. And for those of you, I encourage, be strong, be well, because here is the best part. Does not matter what end of the spectrum you're on, being single, in a relationship, being engaged, or being happily fulfilling married, we all must continue to work forward. We all must continue to work towards being something here, preparing for something here, even if we're only here. Meaning, if you look into your life now and you reflect on what's going on now, what are the things you want to change about your life? What are the things that you think, if I was to date myself, if today I was to date myself and take myself out, what would be the things that I don't like about myself? And I'll tell you, for one, for me, if I was to date myself, I would be upset with all the time that I waste a lot of times watching videos and things like that and not moving forward with my life. And so that is something that I'm actively trying to change. So as you're here or here or here or here, what are the things about your life that you want to change or move forward? What are the things that you say, if that person were to be here with me and date me or be engaged with me or be married to me, what would I have to do differently about myself so that I can be the person they want to be with? So that I can be the person they want to be with, right? Pastor Peter from The Hope talks about this, and I watched that video that Annie sent me in the sense talking about, you know, these dynamics between a boy and a girl and all these different things. And the big thing that a lot of these pastors are talking about is, how do I become the person that the person I'm looking for is looking for? How do I become the person that the person I'm looking for is looking for? How do I be the best version of myself so that the person in front of me, when they meet me, I'm ready for them? And that's in the same here as it is when you're in a relationship. How do I work on myself so that the person I'm with will be happily engaged to me? And you get to being engaged. How do I be the person that the person that wants to marry me can look forward to marrying? And now as in a marriage, how do I be that best person so that this person will still be fulfilled in our marriage for me to be with her? Okay. So those are my thoughts. Remember, the question isn't so much what is a relationship, what are the different steps and statuses. It's simply about, what are you looking forward to? How do you change yourself so that you can be that person you're looking forward to? And regardless of when that is to come or how that is to come, you know that you're ready for that step. Okay, friends, send me your comments, send me your feedback. A wee bit longer. This might be the length of our videos because the topics that have been sent to me are topics like this, and I can no longer do them in 3 or 4 minutes. However, I can do them in this amount of time. All right, y'all. Miss you all. On to my next day of quarantine. See y'all next time.